Jack was a devoted husband and father, a hard-working IT consultant from Chicago who juggled the demands of his career to provide the best life possible for his wife, Emily, and their 6-year-old daughter, Lily. He begins his story by addressing the audience directly, his tone sincere yet heavy with a foreboding sadness. "My career often takes me away on work trips," Jack admits. "I always trusted Emily to handle things at home, but trust, I've learned, can sometimes be the most dangerous thing of all." Jack paints a vivid picture of his family life: weekend trips to the park, bedtime stories filled with laughter, and Lily's radiant smile lighting up every corner of their suburban Chicago home. She was the heart of their little family, a curious and playful child who adored her dad. Jack's love for his family was unwavering, and he worked tirelessly to secure their happiness and future. But beneath the surface of this idyllic life, something was amiss. In the days leading up to a critical business trip to New York City, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that Emily was becoming increasingly distant. Conversations that once flowed effortlessly had turned into brief exchanges. Affectionate gestures were replaced with cold indifference. Jack chalked it up to the stress of parenting and managing the household, choosing to focus on his upcoming meeting, a career opportunity he hoped would open doors for a brighter future. The morning of his departure, Jack hugged Lily tightly, promising to bring her a special gift from New York. As he kissed Emily goodbye, he noticed her lukewarm response. Just a faint, half-hearted smile. When he reminded her to call or text if anything came up, she responded with a dismissive, "Sure." It stung, but Jack dismissed it as exhaustion on her part. What Jack didn't know was that this would be the last time he would see his family whole. Once Jack left, Emily's demeanor shifted dramatically. She wasted no time getting ready, slipping into an outfit far more provocative than her usual attire. Initially, she called a babysitter, perhaps as a momentary nod to responsibility, but in a chilling decision, she canceled the sitter, leaving 6-year-old Lily home alone. Emily turned off her phone, grabbed her purse, and left the house. She was headed to a downtown Chicago hotel far from their quiet suburban neighborhood to meet her lover. As she drove away, the weight of her actions seemed non-existent, her focus entirely on the affair awaiting her. Back at home, Lily stirred from her nap. Alone in the empty house, she wandered through the silent rooms, calling out for her mom. Meanwhile, miles away, Jack was navigating his work commitments, blissfully unaware of the devastating events unfolding at home. As Jack recounts these details, his voice grows heavier. He pauses before posing a haunting question to the audience. What happens when the person you trust most shatters your world in ways you couldn't imagine? This question hangs in the air, pulling listeners deeper into a story of betrayal, heartbreak, and the irreversible consequences of misplaced trust. Back at home, the silence was unnerving. Lily wandered through the house, her small voice calling out for her mother, but only empty echoes replied. Confusion gave way to fear as she realized she was alone. With trembling hands, she picked up the landline and tried dialing her mom's cell phone. Each call went straight to voicemail. As the hours passed and hunger set in, Lily decided to take care of herself the best she could. She ventured into the kitchen, her innocent determination colliding with the dangers of unsupervised curiosity. She climbed a stool to reach the cabinets, a precarious act for her small frame. Perhaps she tried to operate the stove or ate something she shouldn't have. Regardless of the specifics, the outcome was catastrophic. Whether it was a fall, an allergic reaction, or a fire, the result was the same. Lily was critically injured, her cries for help swallowed by the emptiness of the house. The once vibrant home was now a place of silent tragedy. Meanwhile, hundreds of miles away in New York City, Jack was at a work dinner, laughing with colleagues, his mind momentarily at ease. Then, his phone buzzed. He answered with a smile, expecting an update from Emily or a playful hello from Lily. But the voice on the other end was neither familiar nor comforting. "Mr. Thompson, this is Nurse Carter from Chicago Memorial. Your daughter, Lily, has been admitted in critical condition after an accident at home. She's stable for now, but she requires an immediate blood or organ donation. We need you to get here as soon as possible." The words hit Jack like a freight train. His hand tightened around his phone as panic took over. Excusing himself hastily, he left the dinner, his mind racing with questions and dread. Booking the next available flight, Jack sat at the airport in agony. Why hadn't Emily called him? Why? Wasn't she answering her phone? Where was she when Lily needed her the most? Each unanswered question fueled his frustration and fear. The flight home was unbearable. Jack replayed every moment from the past few days, desperately searching for clues he might have missed. When he finally arrived at the hospital, hope flickered briefly, only to be extinguished in an instant. A doctor approached him, her face heavy with sorrow. "Mr. Thompson, I'm so sorry. Despite our efforts, we couldn't save Lily." The world seemed to collapse around Jack. He stumbled into a chair, numb with shock. Grief, guilt, and anger swirled within him, each emotion sharper than the last. He blamed himself for leaving his daughter, but his thoughts quickly turned to Emily. Where had she been? How could she abandon their daughter when she needed her most? The following morning, Emily returned home, oblivious to the night's tragedy. She walked in casually, her hair disheveled, the faint scent of perfume and alcohol clinging to her clothes. She dropped her bag on the counter, assuming Jack was still in New York. When she saw him sitting at the kitchen table, her confidence faltered. Jack's hollow eyes and pale face told her that something was terribly wrong. As he stood and approached her, his voice trembled with controlled rage. "Where were you, Emily?" Her expression shifted from confusion to unease, but Jack wasn't done. The weight of betrayal and tragedy was too much to bear. Jack's voice trembled as he demanded answers from Emily. "Where were you, Emily? Where were you when Lily needed you the most?" Caught off guard, Emily stumbled through her words, mumbling something about staying with a friend and needing a break. Her tone was defensive, almost dismissive, as if she couldn't grasp the gravity of the situation. Jack's anger surged. "A break? While I was rushing back to the hospital praying I wasn't too late to save our daughter?" He revealed everything: the hospital's frantic call, Lily's critical condition, and the devastating moment when he arrived only to find she was gone. Emily froze. The color drained from her face as Jack's words hit her like a tidal wave. She stammered out weak excuses, claiming she didn't think it was a big deal to leave Lily alone and that she had just needed some time for herself. But Jack wasn't interested in justifications. "Not a big deal?" His voice cracked with a mix of grief and fury. "You left her. You turned off your phone. You chose your selfish desires over your own daughter, and now she's gone because of you." The weight of his accusations crushed Emily. For a moment she tried to protest, but the truth was undeniable. Jack's grief had transformed into a cold, unyielding anger. "This isn't just about betrayal," he continued. "You didn't just betray me. You betrayed Lily. You failed her when she needed you the most, and nothing you say can ever undo that." Jack's voice steadied, but his resolve was clear. "I've filed for divorce, Emily. I will never forgive you for this. Never." Emily stood frozen, overwhelmed by the consequences of her actions. Jack didn't wait for a response. He turned and left the house, needing space to mourn Lily in peace. As Jack departed, the weight of Emily's betrayal hung heavy in the air. The confrontation marked a turning point, a moment of accountability and irrevocable change. Jack's world had been shattered, but he was determined to rebuild his life without the person who had destroyed it. In the final moments of the story, Jack sits alone in a quiet moment of reflection. His voice is filled with sorrow but also a quiet determination. He addresses the audience directly, his words deliberate and heartfelt. "Losing Lily was the most painful experience of my life," he begins. "And to know that Emily's betrayal played a part in it only made it harder to understand." Jack pauses, his expression somber. This wasn't just about one reckless decision. It was the culmination of misplaced trust, selfish priorities, and taking things for granted. And while I still struggle to forgive myself for leaving on that trip, I know I couldn't have predicted this outcome. None of us could have. Looking directly into the camera, Jack shifts his tone, emphasizing the lessons he hopes others will take from his story. Trust is vital, not just in relationships, but in the responsibilities we share as parents and partners. Don't take your loved ones for granted. Don't let fleeting distractions pull you away from what truly matters. Life is fragile, and once you lose something, you can't always get it back. Jack's eyes glisten with unshed tears as he poses a poignant question. What would you have done if you were in my shoes? Could you forgive someone who cost you everything? He pauses, letting the question linger, then encourages viewers to share their thoughts in the comments. Let's start a conversation about trust, betrayal, and accountability, Jack says, his voice steady but heavy.